in the chat, and it's really good stuff. And I love to share that kind of thing. And then I love to be part of it, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. I thought I had seen your name in there before. I was like, is that the Dawn from Roots? Or it's like,
It
is it
was because I think I can't remember the woman. Oh my gosh, I can't think of her name right now, but you had talked about a couple different things with autoimmune disorders, which I'm sure it leads to that very often. And she had been talking about pandas, and my niece was diagnosed with that quite a while ago and still has suffered with extreme Hashimoto's and so many. So I kept putting things in the chat every time she perked up something in my brain. But
oh, you know, call our office or talk to me about it. Just reach out and talk to me about it because we have an amazing team that can work with PANS and PANDAS and
right.
MCAS, Lyme, and all of those things. We actually even have a practitioner who's two of her children were vaccine injured, and they ended up with PANS and PANDAS and a whole bunch of other things. And it was just it was horrific.
Wow.
And she healed her children. She
So
healed her children.
that is so incredible because my niece never got vaccinated because she had been diagnosed when she was very young, I believe fifth grade, suffered massively, and it wasn't clearly diagnosed. I mean, that's such that slippery slope of diagnosis and conventional medication and conventional doctors. And as you know, the rat race of where do you go, who do you go, who do you trust, and trying to find answers. And then she probably missed almost a year of school. And then she did a year of trying to rehabilitate gut health from a year of infusions with IVs of antibiotics. I mean, and my family calls me Dr. Dawn because I'm like the legwork and the go-to. And as my biggest fear through the whole thing was a year of antibiotics through IVs. How will your body ever recover? That was my biggest fear. And she has not been well. I mean, it's been hit or miss, but with a lot of illnesses and problems.
Yeah, well, just know that you can reach out to me and
I
we're
will for sure.
happy to see what we can do. Because I know we can do. I know that we
Yes.
can help. And so yeah, well, let's just welcome everybody that's coming in. We're still having people coming in. I think we're up to around 40 people. Welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here at our live Inner Circle podcast show. We were just talking about how we're coming up on about a year that we've been doing this. And well, maybe even it's been longer than that. And we've been having a lot of fun doing it. There are many times where I've just come in and I've actually taught something. And then we have times where we'll have friends coming in. Like today, I've got my friend Dawn coming in, and we want to talk about a really important topic, and that is preventing muscle loss after age 40. And, how many of you put a one in the box? How many of you are over 40 years old? Put a one in the box if you're over 40. Most of our followers, most of our clients are over 40.
Right.
Myself am going on my mid 50s. I have a birthday coming up in less than a month. And so this is a big deal even for me. And even knowing, let's start off the conversation because I want to share with you and I want to share with the audience that, even me knowing everything that I know, being the doctor, helping other people, teaching them how to prevent muscle loss, which also prevents bone loss and osteoporosis, by
Oh
the
my
way.
gosh.
It's super important for us to maintain that. And even knowing what I know, I myself have lost muscle mass. And it's something that, I'm super conscious of that because as I'm going to the gym and trying to rebuild a muscle, I also know I need to add additional protein to my body every day. And I have a harder time consuming the amount of protein that I need. I just don't have the hunger, and I can't eat as much as I did when I was younger. I just, it's like I have to force myself to eat. And so what's been a lifesaver for me, which is, why one of the reasons I'm so excited to have this talk with you is like, how can we, especially as women, I think, I don't know how many men have loss of appetite as they get older.
Right.
Or
Right.
it's not as noticeable as it is for women. When we start going into the menopausal range, sometimes our hunger just really goes down. I can literally go 48 hours and I'm just not hungry. And when I know that I need to eat, is because I start feeling like a little bit like I start feeling brain foggy, like my brain just isn't functioning, like the energy levels go down. I can actually handle a fast really easy. But the thing is I can go like that indefinitely, and that is not good. And so finding meal replacement protein shakes has been my lifesaver. And I have probably like 5 different brands, including Roots. I always keep the Roots nutrition in my pantry. And the reason I have 5 different brands is because they all have a little bit of a different texture. They're all different sources of protein. Some are bone broth protein, some are vegan-based protein, some are whey, some are, you've got all these different kinds. And I want to mix it up. So I want to have different ones that have different flavor profiles, different texture profiles, different sources of protein, because otherwise I get really, really bored with it. But I would love to start out, talking with you about, what do you see is the biggest factor in women feeling, moving, and looking younger as they're aging? Because we're already talking about protein. We know that protein is the foundation of our muscles, cells, tissues, organs, even our DNA. And I feel like most people don't understand how crucial protein is, because we can live without carbohydrates. We can live without sugar. We cannot live without protein. We cannot live without fat. We can't live without water, and we can't live without air. And so protein, I think, is going to be the center of this discussion today. And I think we can kick it off by talking about, a lot of us, we want to slow the aging process down. And I've noticed my aging over the last few years. I've noticed it. And I know that protein is really important, but I would love for you to give us your perspective on, not just slowing the aging process down so that we can look as youthful as we can for as long as we can, but we also want to feel good to go with the youthful look. Because, if we're looking good, but we feel like we only have enough energy to make it through noon each day, that's not living.
Right. 100%. Boy, you took so much of my information and condensed it into something that I speak of daily. And just so that the viewers know and the people that are watching, I always make the joke that I've done hair for 32 years. So if you want to talk to someone that knows what women wish they had and their secrets and what they don't have and what they're struggling with, besides I've been a personal trainer, certified in sports nutrition, a gym owner for 15 years. And I've only coached women through 35 years. And I am coming up on my 65th birthday this year. So when you talk about muscle loss and aging and preventing aging and slowing the aging process, the first place that I go is all the places that you're talking about. And the way
You
I
are
look
not
to,
65.
I'm 64 still. Please just give me a few months. Yeah, right. And if I get one more thing for, Medicare or any of those things, I thought AARP was bad when you turn 50 and the colonoscopy notation, I'm like, great, nice mail that you get on your birthday. Now everything's Medicare, but whatever. Of course, we all are aging every single day, and it's not even anti-aging. It's like, I like to think of it as pro-aging and slowing down accelerated aging. So, that fancy medical term sarcopenia is, I hope I never see that on any medical paper, is age-related muscle loss. And I like to explain to people that if you think of your muscles as fibers that are the scaffolding that holds your body and your cells and your hormones, and they contain enzymes and amino acids. There's, I believe, 20 amino acids that are what protein is made out of. 9 of them your body does not make on its own. You have to get that from food. So when you're talking about fasting, most women over 40 have followed many diets. It's like a badge of honor to say what diet you follow. And when people ask me, what diet do you follow? I say there's no Dawn diet. And at different times in my life, I need different amounts of, whether it be calories or protein. The other thing that I usually say is never skimp on protein. You can skimp on a lot of other things, not water and not fiber, but you cannot skimp on protein. So back to that scaffolding. So think of, you've gone outside, you're not super active, you've worked out in the yard, and every muscle on your body hurts. Muscles are made out of little teeny fibers. every time you use a muscle or challenge a muscle, which is a good thing, you create little teeny tears or micro trauma to those fibers. The only way that they rebuild and repair and recover is through taking in protein. So that alone should make you think that every injury needs protein to reboot and refuel and repair. Every surgery, so if you're having knee replacement or I had rotator cuff surgery, my protein demands are higher. I'm trying to get into a little bit heavier weightlifting because, like you said, Dr. V, is I'm having a harder time not only maintaining my muscle, but I'm trying to build a little more muscle. And women are afraid to get bulky or afraid to feel any big muscles. Trust me, you would have to work out really hard, very often, consume probably quadruple the amount of calories you are, and do not compare yourself with those big bulky women because it's nearly impossible for us to look like that. Having muscular density and tone is a really good thing. That means you're more capable. You probably have better posture. When you talk about that, taking in protein is essential for bone health. Think of ligaments, think of tendons, think of back to the DNA. Our metabolism is directly related to how much muscle we carry on our frame. So when women say, I have a slow metabolism, that probably means you have more fat on your body than muscle. You're more sedentary than you used to be. You don't challenge your muscles to anything. And what's the first thing that women usually do when they think they need to tighten up? They do cardio. Cardio is muscle depleting. And I'm not saying don't ever do cardio, don't ever power walk, don't ever run, don't ever cycle. That's fantastic. But unless you are adding in some form of functional strength training, in addition to whatever you like to do, yoga, anything else, the biggest bang for the buck is in strength training. I mean, the other thing too, when I talk about with the people that come into my gym, I have coached everyone from 35 to 80, I'll say 87. I'm at my mom's house right now, so she's kind of listening in. I said, Mom, this is something that you really want to hear, and everybody's body can build new muscle. I mean, I've watched studies of people in wheelchairs that got out of wheelchairs. I have a personal friend whose dad lived alone until 99 years old. He hurt his knee, so he went into rehab for a very short period of time. And his son went and took him every day and tried to get him to stand up. And at the rehab place, they're like, we cannot have him standing up. It's a fall risk. And he said, he's used to standing and walking. He lives alone. Well, then you're going to have to stand next to him. So he would have his dad stand up out of the wheelchair and sit back down, stand up and sit back down. They ended up telling him that we cannot have you doing this. It's at an extreme risk to his health. And what my friend was saying, the extreme risk to his health is not moving and muscles deteriorating. He's 99 years old. They're going to deteriorate fast. But if we keep them engaged and if we give him a high protein diet, whether it be Ensure or whatever it was, to prevent the muscle loss, that was the twofold thing that would keep him active. And then when you've got that confidence and you are able to move, you have better brain power. I mean, it's that whole thing of, whenever I talk to anybody in a setting like this, the first thing I say is elongate your spine, sit up really tall, pull in your belly, and expand your rib cage. We used to say stand up straight and pull your shoulders back. So it's more like open up your rib cage. You can take in more oxygen, you get better brain flow, you feel stronger and more confident. All that's great, but if you're dieting, skipping calories, trendy named diets that, people like to throw around that badge of honor, if you are not taking in the right amount of protein, your muscles are going to deteriorate. So the rate of how your muscles deteriorate is, I believe it's 1 to 2% by the time you're 30, 3 to 5% by the time you're 40. And of course, this is if you're the average person. By the time you're 50, that doubles. Of course, we are now living to 60, to 70, to 80, to 90. So if you think of how exponentially that muscle loss is happening if you are not practicing anything in the form of resistance training or building your muscles and not taking in that necessary protein, you're aging faster. So the taking in the protein, and it doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian, the sources are, so there's The most essential forms of protein come from meat, fish, eggs. I think egg is considered one of the, superior, contains all 9 of the amino acids that are necessary. Fish, tempeh, edamame, quinoa, beans. So whether you're vegetarian or you eat meat or you're pescatarian, there's still plenty ways that you can take in high quality protein. The average woman is supposed to take, so an average woman is say 150-pound, 40-year-old woman. I believe the recommended daily allowance is 0.8, which it's in grams. So I believe it comes out to be about 56 grams of protein per woman if you weigh around 150 pounds.
And
That,
I think that's even changed because
I
really
think because I
a
think
lot
that's
of people are now saying 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, where
that's exactly, yes.
they used to say 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. Now they're
Right.
like, no, scratch that. It's one gram of protein per pound of body weight. And you have to be really careful though if you're a vegan. I mean, I'm sorry, but I know a lot of overweight, obese vegans.
100%.
Overweight, they look horrible, they don't feel good, and they're
Right.
like, well, I'm getting all my protein from beans and quinoa. Yeah, but you're also getting like 1,000 grams of
Carbs.
carbohydrates a day.
And these are inactive people, right?
And yeah, or even if they are active, you cannot burn through that many calories of carbohydrates. So you're
No,
gonna
you
end up
can't.
getting fat. You're gonna end up having iron deficiencies. You're gonna end up having, a lot of muscle loss because those carbohydrates are empty calories. And we do
Right.
not need carbohydrates to survive. We do not need them. They can feel good when we eat them.
Right.
They can give us really quick energy, but you don't really need them. And so, I hear when you're saying, and I'm not anti-vegan. I don't go for one type of diet or the other.
Same. I consider
When
myself a diet hacker.
Yeah, when people come to us and they say, well, what diet do you believe in? I say, well, I just believe in what your body needs. Let's look at the
Right.
lab data and let's see what the labs are telling us that your body actually needs. Let's look at your biometrics. Let's look at your heart health. Let's look at your blood work. Let's look at your hormones. Let's look at your weight. Let's do all of these things and and we can even look at your genetics and we can really help you tailor your food, which may even change from season to season or year to year. So I'm not like, everybody should eat carnivore or everybody should eat
Right.
vegan. I'm not saying that eating vegan is bad, but I will say this. We have over 5,000 clients around the world, and almost every one of them that is vegan that we have seen, there's a certain percentage who come to us, they're like, I'm vegan, blah, 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 blah. They're super unhealthy.
Right.
And like 80% of them are overweight. And so, you just have to be really, really careful with your protein sources because, we can say quinoa has protein, but it might have 1 gram of protein for 40 grams of carbs.
100%. And that is the thing that, I battle too as a gym owner. And we do have a pretty large clientele that is vegetarian. And they are either the skinniest, weakest, or the person that is, pre-diabetic and insulin resistant and all these titles that they have because they live on beans and rice and quinoa. So there are those tricky things. And thankfully, like you said, there are now plant-based protein powders. And sometimes it is hard because you're either too busy, you don't have an appetite, especially women over 40 and 50. I am not great with fasting. Every once in a while, I can do some intermittent morning fasting, but I'm also not the person that wants to eat the minute I wake up. But I do my heaviest workouts first thing in the morning. So I play around with what works for me. A lot of times, back to the Roots protein powder that I use, I will put like a third of a banana, some blueberries, some ice, some coconut milk, and that will be my pre-workout energy boost. It's got 15 grams of protein in it. I need enough protein. It's got enough staying power. I don't have to eat some heavy carb breakfast to get through a weightlifting workout. There's so many myths that have changed throughout the years that I think that we have so many different ways now that, like you talk about, the biomarkers and the blood work and just listening to your body, not what your friend is doing and not what we did in the 70s and the burning off every calorie and counting every calorie sometimes is you're burning off all your muscle tissue. And that's just like with women in dieting and saying, why would I want to add more protein? It has this many calories. I'm trying to lose weight. How about, like you say, you get rid of the empty calories, always replaced with better sources of protein, lean proteins. And it's usually more protein too, but not protein and carbs. Protein in itself, just so many things that you said you need it for everything from hormones to immunity to the enzymes in your digestion to your metabolism to regulating body temperature. I have people do this little experiment when they say they're low energy. So right away they say, oh, I must be carb depleted. I'm like, well, you could be sleep deprived. You could be too stressed out. You could be a million things. But how about we start with adding more protein? Well, I'm trying to lose weight. Why do I want to add more of anything? I said, people are so focused on what they're not allowed to have and what a diet, a diet doesn't allow them, that word allow or cheat meal or weekend cheating. It's like, they don't focus on what they're missing. And like I said, nearly every woman is missing protein. And then if I ever have people tally up anything just to take a look, I'm like, do you have any fiber in your diet? So then they're constipated too. So you have all these other things that go along with, I walk for 2 hours a day. Well, how about if you strength train for 20 minutes a day and walk 3 times a week because it's great. It clears your head. It's nice to be out in nature. It's, a power walk. I mean, all those things that lead back to, you brought up something that I was going to touch on too. We talk about there's an obesity epidemic. We can look around us. So many people are overweight. They can barely move. I think there's a weakness epidemic. When I look at aging people, I look at posture, I look at confidence, I look at the ability to maneuver into everyday tasks, which is what we talk about at our gym, and it is functional strength. So, I go back to what is functional strength? It's the ability to sit, squat, push, bend, move, twist, lift, reach your own body, first of all. Up a step, down onto a chair, reach for a glass without hurting yourself. How many times did you hear someone, oh, I got that gallon of milk out of the back seat and threw my back out because you don't have any functional strength. And when you eliminate protein and you are deficient in protein, which is the muscle building, muscle preserving nutrient, macronutrient, you're in that downhill spiral to more accelerated aging.
Right. And you know what? And so let's just dial in a little bit on one of the mechanisms of this protein loss. So, our body has different kinds of calories that it can burn. Some of these calories require a little bit more energy to burn, but those are the best ones to burn because once you get the fire burning, it's going to just burn, 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 burn all the time. So a good analogy that I like to make is when you're making a campfire, and you put the twigs in for the kindling, you put in some moss. So the moss would be like the sugar and the kindling would be like the carbohydrates, the potatoes, the rice, things like that. And you're going to get that burning. It's going to burn. You're going to light it up. It's going to burn really quick. It's also going to burn out really quick.
Right.
So when you get the kindling started, then you start adding, logs that are like maybe about this size, maybe a couple inches in diameter. And then as those get going, then you add the 3-inch, 5-inch diameter logs. And then finally, when the fire's hot enough, you can add in the big logs.
Right.
If you put those big logs in too quickly, then you can actually smother the fire.
Right.
And so this is the analogy that I like to use about what kind of fuel are you putting into your body and at what time of day are you putting it into your body? Because the body, if it runs out of carbohydrate and sugar, the very next thing that it's going to go after is protein. It's going to go after your muscle mass. And your body does not differentiate between heart muscle, intestinal muscle, liver muscle. So your organ muscles, it doesn't differentiate between that or the striated muscle of your muscles that you think of, like your arm and your thigh muscles and your butt muscles and your ab muscles. And your body will go right after that. It's the next easiest thing for it to consume because it needs calories, it needs energy to survive. The hardest thing that a body can tap into is to tap into fat. It's very hard to get into the fat burning mode. And so realize that if you're out walking every day, an hour walking every day, there are some great benefits for the walking. It's grounding you. It's giving you, even walking will give you a certain amount of cardio, but you better make sure that you're putting in enough protein, and it's not a substitute for lifting weights. You've got to put in enough protein because if you don't, usually within 30 minutes of any type of cardio, and it doesn't even have to be hard cardio.
Right.
Usually within 30 minutes of any type of cardio exercise, you've burned through your glycogen stores that are in your muscle. So at any given time, you have what, 5 to 6, isn't about 5 pounds of glycogen storage in your muscles. And it
Yes.
burns like that. I mean, it burns like oxygen. It just burns super fast. Then you run out. Then what is your body going to go? I need food. What is it going to go after? It's literally going to start eating its own muscle mass. That can look like eating a heart valve. That can look like eating any kind of muscle tissue in your body, whether it's soft, whether it's organ muscle, or whether it's actual, like, the muscles in your arms and your
Right.
legs. And so in the only way to prevent that is to put protein in your body throughout the day.
Right.
So
Regular intervals. Yes.
yeah, regular intervals. And this is even a dilemma that, I still kind of struggle with. Like, I'm like, well, I'd rather just do 3 scoops of 25 grams a scoop of protein.
That your body will not absorb all at once, right?
Yeah, right. So that I can get 3/4 of my 100 grams a day, because well, I'm about 120 pounds, so I need about 120 grams a day. If I'm working out, building muscle a little bit more. And I'm just like, well, I wish I could just do that, but I can't, because if you put too much protein in your body all at once, then your body is going to go, there's excess protein here, we can't process it. So
Let's
what are
just
we
store
going to
it.
do with it? It'll turn it into fat. It's a process called gluconeogenesis. So if you put too much protein in your body all at once, it's actually going to convert it into fat, and it's going to store it for you. And so talk to us a little bit about, let's go into a little bit more about the exercise and functional strength, because you've already mentioned how, walking, it is good for you, and it's good for your cognitive function. And walking with your arms swinging is really important as we age, because that actually lights up your brain and gives your brain more neurological activity that's healthy for it than anything else that you can do. Reading doesn't do that. There's nothing else that comes close to that. My mother always tells me, well, I'm reading all the time to keep my brain healthy. I've told her a million times, like, you have to walk and swing your arms every day. But that's not enough. We have to strength train. Can you talk to us women about, like, what does it look like to build strength, to build functional strength in our body, and prevent the muscle loss? Like, what does a day in the life of a woman our age need to look like in order for us to not only preserve our muscle mass, but to build a little bit of muscle mass, because most of us don't have enough. So in terms of, like, when we wake up, what kind of food or protein, how much should we put into our bodies in general? Because I know it varies depending on how much we eat, but give us a little bit of a
day in the life
of what that looks like.
Right.
Yeah.
So a day in the life, I'll even use myself. Maybe I'm a little, I'm probably older than most of the viewers, but whatever. I am 5 feet
Most
tall.
of our viewers are actually around they're between their 60s and early 80s. So I think perfect demographic. Yeah.
And I am 5 feet tall. I am about 114 pounds. I am a very small frame. And no, I wasn't always like this. I mean, there was a time in my life where I was a cardio queen. I bragged about doing back to back to back, aerobics classes and running and having a treadmill and a step mill in my living room. That was probably when I was about 22 pounds heavier. I then was being tested for adrenal fatigue. I was miserable. I followed every diet. I ate low fat, and that was when I was approaching 30. So that was what everybody did then. And this is a true story too. So at one point I was doing a back-to-back aerobics class and saw this girl. She looked to be about my age. And I was like, that's what I want to look like. But I probably could never look like that. She was lean, but a little bit of definition, super energized. So I went over to her and I said, hey, how do you, look that fit and that lean? And she's like, stop doing just cardio. I see you in these classes every day. And I'm just like, okay, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's like, and eat real food. I can tell, you're pooping out, but your brain is pushing yourself. And because I was on the mission to lose weight. So instead of focusing on losing weight, it's focusing on being stronger, more capable, more confident, being able to take care of yourself as you age. So all that involves taking in a nutrient dense diet. And I don't say diet like fancy named diets that people carry around, but taking in enough protein as a very first thing in the morning. So you kind of kickstart your metabolism. You create a little bit of satiety. So if people are worried about overeating, the last thing you want is a bagel for energy, because it's going to make you crave another bagel or crave a sugary coffee, or all those things that, perpetuate the negative cycle. So a little bit of protein, whether it be a protein shake, a couple scrambled eggs. I like Ezekiel bread, which is a sprouted grain bread. Those are, meals that I would have in the morning, a little avocado toast. I'm a fan of eggs, but some mornings I wake up and I'm like, I don't know, my stomach this, my hormones that. I don't want eggs. That sounds weird. So I want something sweet. So I will put berries. Berries are a great thing to add to a protein smoothie. I'll put that with a little coconut milk or a little almond milk in my blender, and then my energy's boosted. I'm ready to go. So what would be the next thing so I won't use me for this because I am used to strength training, but if you're a beginner to strength training, something that is very necessary, learning. And so I do this with women that have come into our gym for the first time. We have a set of plates that are, so if you were to sit down in a chair and your feet are on the floor flat and your back is up against a chair, the idea is to be able to, I'll demonstrate, be able to stand up without using your hand, just driving your feet into the ground and coming to a stand. So doing that at home. Make sure it's safe. Make sure you have enough balance. Some women get kind of angry because they can't believe, hold on, wait, I wasn't this, I need to use my arm. So it's like, whether it be some sturdy chair or a step or a bench, whatever it is, feet flat, elongate the spine, pull in your belly, drive your feet into the ground to be able to come to a standing position. You can never overlook the importance of being able to squat in and out of a chair without using your arms. So that is a huge number one exercise. Stepping up and onto a step and back down. Do you know that one of the biggest reasons that people end up in the hospital after the age of 60, which kind of makes me laugh, is from falling? It's not that they're always on their phone and not paying attention, but that could be a huge thing these days. But people are not used to picking their feet up. So when people come into the gym, I set up these little mini obstacle courses, because I'd say life is an obstacle course. We're preoccupied with our phones or our groceries or trying to get in the car. So you have to be aware of your body's connection to the ground, which means you have to be stable. So walking, like you said, Dr. V, with your arms swinging and confidently, so you get that movement pattern, being aware of how you move in the proximity of what's in your house. Stepping up onto a step, take your stairway in your house. You've got railings. Step up and then down, up and then down. Keeping the base of your foot planted into the ground will engage your glutes. Another reason that people fall is because their glutes are so weak. First of all, we don't want a pancake rear end, right? I mean, we want a perky, firm, round rear end. But unfortunately, as we age, that seems to be one of the very first sets of muscles to go. When you have weak glutes, that could be the demise right there. The best exercise that you can do to strengthen your glutes is to do a hip bridge. So you would lay down on the ground with your knees bent, so you're flat on your back, palms at your sides, bend your knees up close to your rear end, and press your hips up as if you're pushing your hip bones up towards the ceiling. Squeeze your glutes, that means squeeze your buns, try to hold for a second, and then lower. It's amazing how many people they arch their back, they do this, they do that, and they're like, I don't even know what I'm doing. That's because you don't have any glute strength. Practicing that every single day, 8 reps, 3 times a day, 10 reps, you will feel your buns start to get stronger. When your posterior chain, your rear end, your back of your hamstrings is stronger, you are less apt to start falling forward, which is another sign of aging. And that pitched forward head that, I feel like when you're already looking down and you're not lifting your feet enough and you've got weak glutes, one little touch on something, of course you're falling forward. You're already halfway there. So it's strengthening the biggest muscles on your body. Do you have to go to the gym and heave barbells over your head? No, you can use resistance bands, body weight exercises. I have a program that involves a lot of body weight exercises that is a digital program called 7-Minute Ageless Body Secret. It's literally 7 minutes of body weight exercises that you can do in your living room. It is geared towards a quicker, short burst of exercises so that you get a little bang for the buck and burning a little, getting that the fire inside of your body,
Flex
torch.
those muscles, just get
Yeah,
those muscles flexing a little bit. You don't have to do it
exactly.
for
That
15 minutes
blood
or
flow,
an
that
hour.
pump. I mean, you talk about a dormant metabolism and a slow, sluggish metabolism. It's slow everything, slow brain power, slow blood flow, slow thought process. But get a little blood flow, start breathing a little hard. All of a sudden you're like, ooh, I really didn't want to do this, but now I don't want to quit. You know, another thing that's great for women, and I have my mom do this. Most women cannot knock out one single push-up. It took me a really long time to be able to do one single push-up. I can max out at 10 now, which doesn't sound like a lot, but women do not have that upper body strength that men do. And so what women will do is they will try to start a push-up on their knees. The whole point of a push-up, so let me backtrack a little. A great exercise that you can do at home, go to your kitchen counter or something that is between your chest and your waist. Walk right up to it and plant your hands on the kitchen counter. Then walk your feet out a few steps as if you're in a plank position. Lower your body slowly, then push your body away. Lower your body slowly, but keep your entire body tight. This is engaging your pectorals. The other thing about musculature as we age, there's not many things that you do in life that your elbows are behind your body. Everything we do, whether we're on our phone or on a laptop or a dentist or a lawyer, or everything is you're driving, whatever it is, your elbows are in front of you, which creates that forward rounded posture. So back to the musculature, I think the posture is equally important. You can't build muscle without the protein. So, and you can't just take in protein and expect to build muscle. So it's kind of a twofold thing, that scaffolding again, like you said, build that fire, protect and, build that scaffolding so it's a strong structure that keeps your body capable as you age. Resistance bands are great. I mean, even taking a tight resistance band and pulling it apart and putting it this way, pressing it overhead, laying on the ground and putting it between your knees and opening up your knees and closing them. All those things that might not feel so great just means you're kind of weak. As you practice them and they become easier, then you up the ante a little bit, add in a few more reps, add in a couple of dumbbells. Everybody's body will adapt to that. It's called the progressive training overload technique. So it doesn't mean you have to load more weights, but progressively your body will start to get a little stronger and a little stronger. Then you have even a bigger need for protein because you want to facilitate that healing, that recovery, that rebuilding. And it is a fantastic thing. I love it when women come into the gym or contact me and say, I have ran marathons, I've dieted my whole life, I feel so flabby. I'm like, let's strength train for 6 weeks. By the end of 2 weeks, it's unreal that they say, oh my gosh, I feel are my muscles getting too big? They feel really firm. I'm like, no, that's a good thing, or they feel like things are easier. I trained a woman that was, I believe she was 65. She traveled regularly to visit her daughter in Chicago. And she came back from a vacation one time and she says, I took my carry-on bag and opened up the thing and kind of threw it up there and sat down. She's like, I go, okay. And she says, I've never done that before. Is that because of what we're doing? I'm like, what did you used to do? She goes, I'd always look for the big strong guy and say, can you put my bag up there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, your body adapts, and it seems to be a surprising thing for so many women because they're not used to that their body can adapt. They think I'm too old now. I have bad knees. That's another thing. People will come in and a woman will come in and say, I have 2 things I have to be really careful. My doctor told me and my daughter told me, don't do any squats because it's bad for your knees. And I said, you know what's bad for your knees? Letting the muscle deteriorate that supports the knees and the ligaments and the tendons so that you end up having bad knees because you have weak muscles. And
Not
then
moving the knees is bad.
when they say they cannot get up and out of a chair, I'm like, that's because you have weak muscles. It has nothing to do with bad knees.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Like, I'll just call out the physicians who are saying that because let's just talk about this here really quick. I have no problems going head to head with this because I'm right and they're wrong. But I mean, hey, when you're right on some things. I'm super confident about this because as a sports medicine doctor, which was my original training, I can tell you that joints are designed to move. Joints are designed to move. And the only way that a joint can get the nutrients that they need to stay lubricated is through movement.
Movement. Right.
When the joint does not move, the joint deteriorates very quickly.
rapidly.
a great example. How many of you remember back in the day when orthopedic surgeries were they were monstrosity jobs back then?
Barbaric,
Remember that? Like
barbaric.
they were super barbaric. Like you would go in and you would get a knee replacement or any kind of a knee surgery, like even like an ACL tear. And then you would wake up out of surgery and they had your leg in a sling with a cast on, and you could not move your leg for weeks.
And they told you not to for
And
fear
they
of
told you
making
not
it
to.
worse.
And then the cast and then all the stuff finally comes off. Your leg is half the
Like a
size.
toothpick, right?
And then you have to spend 2 years to get the mobility back in your knee. How
If
many
you
of
ever do,
would have
right?
won? Because
Right.
I mean, even if it wasn't you, we all know somebody. If you're over 50, we all know somebody who went through that, either with their knee or their shoulder. Now, do you know what they're doing? You wake up out of surgery and they're moving your knee immediately. They're moving it, whether it's a knee replacement or it's just a ligament tear, they're moving the knee, passive movement. Why? Because now they know that the joint needs to move in order for the joint part of the injury to actually heal faster. And so you've got to keep moving, ladies and gentlemen, and whatever men we have, you guys have to keep moving. If you don't move, you're accelerating your death. You're just making it happen even faster, and you're going to be miserable on your way out. And you know what? I feel like right now, and I'm in this time in my life where I'm like, you know what? What is a life well lived? What is a life well lived? I want to live my life. Just because I'm 50, 60, 70, 80, I'm going to be skiing when I'm 80 years old. You know what? I mean, because I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live my life. I want to live. I don't want to be suffering in bed, cognitive dysfunction, in a wheelchair. Screw that. Like, I'm motivated to go to the gym. I go with my husband. He's 13 years younger than me. And so, like,
And so is mine.
Yours too? Yeah, he's super
Right.
motivated. And because we take care of ourselves, we can enjoy living
And
life
our attitude
and
is that we have,
younger
right.
and full of vitality and, chasing us around the house, whatever. Like, it's beautiful because we have the libido, we have the stamina, we have the strength, we have the youthfulness and the vitality, and we're going to maintain that because we're working out, we're building muscle, we are eating enough protein to sustain our brains and all of our vital organs, our DNA, and and just to slow the whole aging process down overall. And then the other thing that we haven't talked about is you know what's another reason that we haven't talked about? I want to leave this for you to talk about. What's another reason that we need to build that muscle mass? Something that women see all the time happening to them, and they have no idea that it's related to the loss of the muscle mass that they have.
So are you basically talking about confidence and not feeling sexy anymore? And
That too. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. And I mean, how many of you like don't recognize yourself? Like
oh, right.
you look at the mirror. This has happened to me where I've gotten too busy with work and I, didn't do my self-care, which meant that I stopped exercising. And then one day I look in the mirror or I go to an event and I see pictures of myself and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even recognize my body. And then I'm like,
Right.
getting back to the gym, but also for osteoporosis, stress on bone creates more bone. That's called Wolff's Law. And so if you're worried about osteoporosis, ladies, yes, we need to look at BPA, and we need to look at phthalates, and we need to look at these toxins in the body that can be inhibiting the nutrients from keeping our bones strong, because our body needs all kinds of nutrients and ingredients to stay healthy and strong and all the things, including our bones. And it needs protein for that too. But you also have to have stress on the bone. So the muscle attaches, for example, the muscle in the forearm here, right? It attaches here, and then it traverses across the arm, depending on which muscle it is, and it attaches again here. So as you build the muscle and make it strong, it's pulling on the bone.
Tugging and pulling,
here,
right.
and it's attaching here. That pulling on the bone sends messages to the brain to tell the body
To regenerate more.
regenerate more bone.
Right.
And if you're not building your muscle mass, ladies, there's no amount of calcium, no amount of anything that you're going to be able to take. And the osteo meds, they do not work if you don't already know that, they don't work and they
And
cost
have harmful side effects, those
they have
shots
harmful
that,
side
oh my
effects.
gosh, right.
You have to build your muscle mass. If you're concerned about osteoporosis, it's about diet and it's about building muscle mass. And
There is
so,
no side effect to being more active and getting your body moving. And back to that conversation of, well, I have bad knees or I have bad hips. It's most likely because you don't have the fluids going in and lubricating the joints. And you have become fearful now because you think, well, I used to play tennis and I'm not going to play tennis at 75. Well, maybe you don't have to right now. But that attitude is what will prevent you from, it will accelerate the aging process. The idea is that we have so much control over what we can do, and we can start exercising. We can start at a single thing daily. I like to break things down into steps, because if you have someone that comes to you and says, oh my gosh, I have Hashimoto's, I'm 80 pounds overweight, I don't sleep at night, I have no sex drive. I mean, well, you're not going to give them 500 ideas of what to do. I like to break it down into, okay, tomorrow you're going to squat in and out of your chair throughout the entire day 15 times. Well, what else should I do? I'm like, how about we start with that? Well, that's not going to get me to my goals. I'm like, well, you haven't gotten to your goals in 20 years by all the other things that you're trying to do. Let's do one thing that I know will work. I know that you'll be surprised of, it's not that easy, because you're going to get a little fatigued because you're not used to using your muscles. So getting on a lifestyle path, and then that idea that it feels really good. So my favorite thing was when a woman would come into the gym and she'd have this big heavy purse on her shoulder with her imbalanced, posture, and sling the thing over on, and I'd say, okay, we're just going to start with an exercise band. You're going to stand up straight and hold it over your head, and you're going to sit back into a chair. And she'd say, with the exercise band at the same time? I mean, wait, that's just too many things. And I'm like, okay. I say, okay, then we're going to hold a 5-pound dumbbell. A 5-pound dumbbell, I can't pick up 5 pounds. And I'm like, your purse probably weighs 12 pounds. You slung it over one side without even being mindful of it. You're walking with kind of a little off kilter. I said, let's just start with the balancing thing. That's another thing too. The brain connection. I always make the joke that who says, weightlifting is for dummies. I love that obstacle course idea, because if you even just try to stand and elongate your body and lift one foot slightly off the ground and focus on something across the room, you've got to engage every single muscle and focus and breath to not tip over. That's like an isometric exercise. So when people get mad that they can't do that, I kind of chuckle, because I'm like, all right, just calm down, just breathe. Okay, slowly elongate your spine. Well, what are we going to do that's like weightlifting? I need to lose weight. I'm like, this is the starting point. Your muscles are not engaged in anything yet. So let's engage the muscles consciously, slow down, elongate your spine, squeeze your glutes, lift one foot up slightly off the ground. And let's see if we can count to 5. And they're doing this. There's that connection is just kind of lost. So
well,
simplicity.
there's a dissociation,
Right.
and people are not realizing that if you're one of those and you're struggling with that, you are so dissociated in your body. You're leaving your body before it's time.
100%.
Have you thought about that? You're leaving your body before it's time. And that should be a really big wake-up call.
Wake up
Because
call.
again, ladies and gentlemen, it goes back to your quality of life. What kind of life do you want to have for the remaining
Right.
years that you have? For
Right.
me, it's not an option to be sitting down all the time and grow old like
Right.
that. So I do those hip, I forget what those are called, the hip push-ups, the
Hip bridges.
hip bridges, the hip
Okay.
flexing. I
Yes.
do that with my grandson. So whenever I'm in Washington visiting, we're jumping on the I mean, this kid, he's 4.5, right? Grandma, let's go jump on the trampoline, So we're like jumping on the trampoline, and then
Ooh,
we go,
rebounding. That's good for you.
oh yeah, all of the fun stuff. And then I'll dance with him where I'm holding him and picking him up and dancing. And then I'll do different kinds of exercises. I'll do push-ups with him on my back.
Yes.
I'll do the hip bridges with him
With him
sitting.
sitting on your, yes.
It's funny because and I'll pop up, kind of bounce a
You'll
little
bounce him
bit.
off. Oh,
But it's
right.
fun. I can play with my grandkids. But that's something for you guys to think about. Did Did you ever think about it from that perspective? If
Right.
you are associated from your body that much that you can't do these simple functional movements, these everyday movements anymore, and you didn't realize it till you started working with someone, like Dawn,
Right.
consider that you're leaving your body early. And I mean,
I
is that
went,
really
yeah.
what you want to do? Because,
Yeah.
that's not the way
Years
to.
ago, I went to a functional aging summit in Arizona. And one of the most fascinating people there was this guy that walked up on the stage. And mind you, there was probably 400 people there. They were all personal trainers. They were all probably in their 20s and 30s. But the person hosting this event, he was my age, maybe a little bit younger than me, but he said, "You're going to get a kick out of this next guest speaker." So this guy comes up, looks like he's about 80 years old, and he walks up to the stage and he pulls his pants down. Of course, everyone's looking at each other going, "Oh God, this guy's off his mind," pulls his pants down and takes off his shoe. And he drops a thing of marbles on the stage. And he says, "I know you're all laughing. I'm an old dude. I lost my marbles." And he stands completely erect and he takes his toes and he tips the can over and he lets the can sit there and he balances on one foot and picks up each marble of 20 marbles and puts them in the can. And he says, "All right, you young man, muscle bound dude in the front, come on up here and I'm going to have you try that." Well, the guy's like, "Of course, I'm not going to take my pants off." Because, "I don't care, take your shoes off, get up there, put your feet on the thing." The guy couldn't balance, couldn't pick up what he's tipping over. And, of course, everyone's laughing. But the guy leaves and he says, "This is a fundamental association, like we're talking about, with core strength, focus, being aware of your surroundings, aware of your connection of your body." And that's what I say. It's not just going and lifting heavy weights. I mean, you could get hurt doing that. And if you can't put your own shirt on because your arms are like that, who cares? But the functional strength that leads you into an older, more capable aging. I did another event this one time, and it was an elder care law, asked me to come in because they said, "Our meetings are so boring. Can you come in and do something fun and make it like interesting about anti-aging?" I'm like, "Okay." So everyone in there was there because they knew they were going to be taking care of their parents' law fees or something and lawyer stuff later on. And I said, "Okay, who wants to live to be 100?" And they're just like looking at me like, "Who is this girl?" Not one person raises their hand. And I'm like, "Okay, why don't you want to live to be 100? "I don't want to be in a nursing home." "Okay, why don't you want to live to be 100? "I don't want someone taking care of me." "Why don't you live to be 100? "I don't want to be on 50 medications." And I'm like looking around the room. I'm like, "Okay." So everybody right now, stand up out of their chair. Do not use your hands and stand up out of your chair and then sit back down. Well, people are tipping over and they're like, "Wait, I have my shoes on and I have heels." And everyone, probably 50% of the room could not stand up out of the chair and sit back down with control. They're slapping on the chair. So I'm like, before you guys worry about taking care of your parents, you should probably start taking care of yourselves because you're aging just as fast as they are. You're just as weak as they are. You're going to have just as low brain function, just as low blood flow, and it was kind of a rude awakening. They didn't really like me that much, but it was kind of like that tough love of, who
Yeah.
cares what the lawyers do later on? And no wonder you don't want to live to be 100 because you're not healthy at 50 and 60. But it
Yeah.
was all things that I talked about after that that are very doable, a little bit, a couple step ups a day. There's a doctor, I actually went to high school with him, America's favorite cardiologist, Dr. Joel Kahn. He talks about, you can you can drop your heart disease numbers by as much as 15% by walking up and down 5 flights of stairs once a day. I mean, so, that might sound like such a little task, but it really isn't. I mean, people, like when people move into a new house, "Oh, are you living on a single floor?" And, "Oh, you're downsizing," because people are afraid of moving. And that just begets less, weaker muscles, bad appetites, or, as people age, appetites do change. So that's why I say, no, you don't have to eat another steak. You don't have to eat another chicken breast, but find different ways of taking in protein regularly. Something flavorful, something that you look forward to, something that benefits your body.
One of the protein sources we haven't talked about, and then we'll jump into, I want to talk to you here next about some of the services that you provide that I think would be a really, really great fit for a lot of our viewers But what about organ meats? You know, how many of you eat organ meats? Put a one in the, like, cow heart, cow liver, kidneys, any of that. Nobody. Ah, we have a few. Yes,
Oh,
Jana.
wow. Okay.
Yes, because Jana's been working with me. I've been teaching her about that. And she probably already knew it before, but I kind of pushed her. So Roxana was like, no, zero, no.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so did you know that organ meats have more dense nutrition than striated muscle? And they have a lot of healing properties in them. And nowadays, there are more small farmers that you can buy your meats from. And a lot of them, so that, people, once they learn about the incredible nutrient density of organ meat, a lot of them want to do it. Some of them try it and they don't like the texture, they don't like the flavor. So what they're doing now is they're mixing it in hamburger meat. So you can go buy, like, from a farm that does grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And what they'll do is they'll take, like, out of a pound of hamburger, they'll take like a quarter of it and they'll mix in beef heart, or they'll mix in beef kidney, or whatever. I encourage you and invite you guys to try it. I am a hunter. I like to hunt. I was raised by my father, for those of you who don't know. So, like, I was like right there with my dad, his little sidekick growing up. And so I did all the hunting and I did all the MacGyver things that my dad used to do. And hunting is one of them. And so I actually like organ meat, I'll eat organ meat from pretty much any animal: pig, deer, cow, rabbit, chicken, whatever. And I actually really, I like the flavor of most organ meats, and the ones that I have a harder time with the texture, I'll grind it up and I'll then mix it with the hamburger. But, the other really interesting thing about organ meats too is that, how many of you remember, like, maybe you've read about it or you've seen it in movies, where, like, back hundreds and hundreds of years ago, maybe even thousands of years ago, if somebody had a heart condition, they would give you heart to eat.
Yes.
If you had a thyroid condition, they would give you thyroid organs to eat. If you had a fertility issue, they would give you, like, testicles or uterus to eat. Yeah, some of you remember that. I remember thinking how barbaric that was when I was younger. I thought, oh my God, like, what kind of medicine is that? That's not real medicine. Thank God I live in a day when we have Western medicine and we really know what we're doing. Well, fast forward, I'm
Right,
giggling.
right.
So I'm like, no, they actually knew what they were doing. They actually knew what they were doing. Did you know that for most people, the best, most effective thyroid medicine actually comes from the thyroid organ of a pig?
Desiccated pig thigh, right.
Desiccated pig thyroid.
On it.
It works. I'm telling you, it works. So, but we're not doing it like the old-fashioned way back in the day, where, the medicine woman in the tribe or the medicine man in the tribe would go and do ceremony around killing the pig, or
Slice a piece off, right.
it works with other animals too. I mean, you could do thyroid from other animals, but pig is closer to human than any other animal. So, DNA wise. And so, they would, like, cut off a piece and say, here, eat this every day, and say your mantras or whatever. Now we can put it in a capsule and we can give it to you. But I'm telling you, like, it's absolutely incredible. Like, all this stuff has come full circle. So I want to invite you guys, all of you, to try some organ meats. Try them. Get curious. Get some new recipes and all of that. Just as we were talking about protein sources, that came up, Dawn, and I'm like, oh my God, we have to talk about that for just a couple of minutes. But you've got a really great ageless body secret program for women over 40.
Right.
Is this something, I mean, I'm guessing women can do this online. They don't have to personally come and see you.
Right. And that's exactly why I created it, because it was one of those things where no one had time to come and do a one-on-one personal training. And then I started, between writing a newsletter and piquing women's curiosity, okay, I can't fly to Michigan and work out in your gym. Can you write a workout for me? Or can you film a video? I mean, and then, at the time I was like I said, I was an in-person person. I only did personal training and I did hair. So I didn't own a laptop. I was, the dinosaur that took me a long time to get going. And then my husband invited me to this seminar and they were like, you have something really, really great that needs to be shared globally. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means, So I literally created a follow along workout program that can be done at home. I actually have two of them, but the one that is geared more towards women over 40 that you can do at home, you don't really need equipment, and it is the best starter for anybody, and it is 7 minutes. So the question becomes, 7 minutes, is that really going to do anything? The order of, I call it, instead of saying a workout or exercises, the order of the movement patterns are what create the synergistic effect. You are working your biggest muscle. You're not standing there doing bicep curls. You know what? This little muscle can get targeted when you do other compound movements, which takes less time and is more bang for the buck. So I like to use that tagline of, everybody wants to feel better, you want to move better, and you want to look better. That has to come from fueling your body with protein to prevent the muscle wasting, but do something that targets the biggest muscles on your body, and also kind of at the same time works the smaller synergistic supportive muscles. So
I like that because it's more efficient when you're targeting
much more
different muscle
efficient.
groups all at once. It's so efficient. This is the way that my husband and I have been working out. And he comes up with all the exercises. He does the
Right.
research, right? And he'll come up with the different ones. But we'll be working out like 5 different muscle groups all at once in one
Right.
exercise. And so it's super ultra efficient. And I
That's
like that you're
the
doing
key word,
that.
efficient. That is the key
Yeah.
word. It's efficient. It's efficient for time. It's
Yeah.
efficient because you don't need to drive anywhere. You don't need a huge space. You don't need gym equipment. You need a mat. You need your body, some water, and a screen. You can watch it on your laptop. You can watch it on your phone. I've had people say, I'm watching this on my phone on vacation. I mean, I have some great unsolicited testimonials that are really cute that have become lifelong friends. I mean, it's just so funny how you don't realize that your outreach of when you touch someone's life, when they say, I have dieted, I've done every exercise in the world, and now I'm wearing a bathing suit and not covering up my jiggly thighs. I mean, just things like that you remember. So funny, that little balloon thing. I don't know why that
I don't
happens.
know where that's coming from.
Well, lately when I'm on a Zoom call or a webinar with anybody, balloons show up in the background. So I guess those are for you. I don't know. I don't know. The topic makes people excited, so we get balloons. But
That's hilarious. I love
so
it.
the 7 minute Ageless Body Secret, and I'm sure Dr. B, you can share however they can find that later. It is done in 7 minutes. It's
I love that.
in the whole, it's 10 minutes because you have a 3 minute warm up. Then there's 7 minutes of 20 seconds on, 20 seconds rest, 20 seconds on, in each 20 seconds, which sounds like nothing, but the exercises and the order that you're doing them definitely get you a little winded. You definitely feel like you've taxed your body. And there's 3 different sessions. So each one's a little bit harder than the one before it. So of course you start with session 1. If that's too easy, you do session 2. If you've become so fantastic at it, you can do 2 in a row. But the point of it is it works all the muscle groups that are the largest ones, that are the most supportive, the most beneficial, the ones that you need the most as you age, and the ones that if you don't have very much time, should be worked anyway. So it's back to that functional strength, creating the functional strength. And they're kind of fun. It's a little challenging because in order to have anything be different, you obviously have to challenge yourself, right? I
It
mean,
needs to be challenging.
right,
Look, I mean, if we're going to lift weights, it needs to be challenging.
right,
If we're not challenging ourselves a little bit, we're not going to make the progress and we're not
right.
going to build strength. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about, you know, how we can do better as we get older. I know that that's a topic that's on my mind all the time. And so I've been diving more and more into biohacking and how can I be even more efficient with my stuff, and spending more time outdoors. I got a cold plunge here and I
Ooh.
haven't gotten in it yet, but I'm getting ready to now that the weather's warming up a little bit. And so all of these things are really, really good for you. And I'm so glad, Dawn, that you came on to share that with us. And I'm really excited about your 7 minute ageless body secret program to help women help to gain muscle mass, but in a way that they don't have to go do a gym membership. They don't have to think that they have to spend an hour in the gym, not even 30
Right.
minutes, just 10 minutes a day.
And it's
You
at
owe
your own pace.
yourself.
Right. It's at your own pace. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love getting that out to people that, yes, you can do it. And if there's little things that you can't do, you're going to modify it or you're going to still get stronger. No matter how, if you try it, you're going to see a result, you know.
Yes, you are. And I just want to tell you, Grace just put a beautiful comment in the chat. She says, how about square dancing full out at age 75?
All
It works
right,
the
Grace.
body and all the way to your brain and your toes. Nothing is left out. So I would agree that that's really good for you. And I would still encourage you to do a little bit of muscle building because that's
Yes,
mostly cardio. What I love about it is that it's really helping you keep your balance. If you're dancing, that's wonderful for your brain function because it's keeping your body, but it's keeping you in
100%.
your body. You can't really dance if you're not in your body. So dancing is going to bring you into your body. I actually dance all the time here at the house. Greg usually cooks most of the meals, and then I put music on and I dance in the evening. I let the energy flow and move through my body like that. And I'll do a lot of functional movements when I'm dancing. So I'll do like a lot of qigong and I'll come down and I'll do squats and I'm like moving around like this, in a squat formation, while
Oh
I'm
my
dancing,
gosh, we are the same.
kind of build that muscle up. So I would say like kudos to you for doing that. And maybe also I invite you to check out Dawn's 7-minute workout routine because I think that that could be really, really great for you to build a little bit more muscle on top of that. And then we're getting a couple of other things in here about how, it's hard to exercise when I felt weak and I've been in too much pain. Well, we do want to figure out really what are all the root causes of the pain. So you may have had tendonitis for a very long time, but when you didn't move the area or get it worked on properly so that you could feel better, and then you stopped moving the area, it now it's even going to be harder to get that motion back. Also remember that pain, a very common root cause of pain. So pain can be caused from biomechanical instabilities, meaning like you have a misalignment in your joint or your spine. Or it can be a biomechanical instability of the soft tissue where you have an instability where you have one muscle group that's stronger and the other muscle group is weaker. So like your muscles in the front are pulling you forward like this, and
100%.
the
Yes.
muscles in the back. But you can also have chronic pain from emotions that get stored inside of your
Trauma.
body.
Right.
And you know what? You may not notice it at all on a conscious level. You may
Right.
have zero idea that you have an old emotion or an old emotional trauma that got stuck inside your body. One of the most common
And is now showing up as pain. Right.
one of the most chronic or one of the most common underlying root causes of chronic pain are trapped emotions. And I have study after study after study on this, which I teach in my master classes. I think I show these studies in all my different master classes. I hit on it hard in our Mastering Trauma Masterclass, which is we're in the final episode. Episode 5 is going on. It started about 8 minutes ago, but I talk about that. And so if you've been struggling, reach out to somebody who's going to look outside the box for you,
Right.
like our team up with Dawn, and let's look at the labs. Let's make sure you're not having a lot of inflammation. Let's make sure you're not eating foods that are making your body hurt more, because believe it or not, there are some foods
Oof.
that we're eating on a daily basis that we think, or our doctors told us these are healthy. We should be eating 7 to 9
Right.
servings of grains a day. A lot of that stuff is killing you, folks. It's
Right.
killing you,
Right.
and it's creating so much inflammation and deterioration in your joints, not allowing you to move. And then the lack of movement is making the deterioration of the joint accelerate even faster. So team up with people who know what they're doing. Team up with women like us who we've been there. We're older
Right.
too. We
Right.
know, and we can help you
Right.
get your life team around you, and let us help you get out of that chronic fatigue, get out of that chronic pain. It's going to take a little bit of work, but
Right.
this is your life. Live it on
And
your
the mindset too, of
terms.
getting stuck in the mindset that this is the only way I'm going to be. Eh, That is the first thing that
It's
you
a
have to
lie.
make the littlest shift. You
It's a
have to
lie.
stop repeating that mantra, because if
Yeah.
repeating that just reinforces it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All of the things that you've been learning about aging, it's all a lie. I'm here to tell you it's a lie. And if you
I'm here to
want to
tell you too.
challenge, if you want to challenge this myth with us, and you're not already working with us, come join us and let us put a life team together for you. Because on our team, we do have a lot of people. We don't have someone who does what you do, Dawn. So I think that that would be
Right.
a really great pairing up. And so
Oh,
if this,
I would love to be part of your team, and I have so many followers and people that I would love to refer to your team. So that, you know, because back to it's the mindset that you have to start with, the mindset that all the things we learned before have to just go away.
yeah.
And there are things that we can help with and that we've experienced and that I know people that have experienced and that I know people that can help with. And it is getting back to the root of so many things and preventing that acceleration of inflammation, acceleration of muscle loss, acceleration of, you know, sleeplessness or hormone imbalances. Right. It's getting the halt on that, you know.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And so ladies, our beautiful men that join us for our calls, thank you for coming. Um, I'm going to send out the replay. We usually send it out within a couple of days. Um, we don't always get it sent out the next day because we're trying to wrap up our week with all of the stuff, and it takes a little bit of technical work
Sure.
to get the video ready and get it uploaded and get it sent out to you in an email. But we will send it out, and I'm also going to send out a link for you to check out Dawn's 10-minute workout program. And I'm going to send you a link for, which I've shared it with you many times if you follow us, for the Root Superfood Protein Powder. It tastes like um,
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And I absolutely love that one. I think it just tastes super, super good. I like to put like 1/4 of a frozen banana in it. And then it kind of starts to taste a little bit like banana bread. That's why I was always going to say banana bread.
That's how my husband loves it. He absolutely loves it like that. I prefer it with a little bit of coconut milk and a little ice. And then I feel like it's got like a coconutty, you know, there's a little hint of cinnamon somewhere in there, a little hint of cacao, you know, it's almost like drinking a nice glass of wine. It's got the before taste, the aftertaste, and
But
it
it's so
tastes,
much better for you.
oh
Yeah.
my gosh, and it tastes like food, you know.
Yeah, and not only does it have a good amount of protein in it, but they also put a lot of different super greens in it as well. And I absolutely love that about your protein powder because you guys add like so much more stuff. So I'll
Right.
be sending out the links. You'll get to watch the replay. Share this with your friends, share it with your sisters, your brothers, share it with anybody who you think would really benefit from this talk. And then I'll be sure that I include the links in there for you too, so that if you want to try Roots protein, if you haven't tried it yet, I want you I definitely want you to try it because I love this stuff and I wouldn't talk about it if I didn't think it was amazing. I wouldn't even talk about it. And then I invite you, if you're not doing any kind of workout, 10 minutes is going to be so good for you. Your body is going to love you for it. So
Right.
thank you for joining us. I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks for our next Inner Circle call. And Dawn, whenever you are, you know what, whenever you are joining, let me know, message me, and I'll bring you up onto the panel and you can hang out with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This has been so great. I've sat in on a couple of your inner circle talks before, and there's definitely so much to take away. I hope that today I offered some value that are good takeaways that you can actually do right this minute when you get off of this call, or especially when you replay it. And, you know, like she said, links to me, if there's anything that I can help you with, it is my passion. And again, it's pro-aging. It's taking charge and control of the best part of your life, you know, the third or whatever that, you know, part of your life is that can be the best part.
This is the best time of our life because we have the wisdom.
Right.
And many of us have developed a little bit more self-mastery. And now if we can just get our body caught back up,
Right.
this is the time. It's not called golden years because we're old. It's called golden
No.
years because they're the sweetest years of our life. If we have learned mastery of our emotions, mastery of our mind, mastery of our bodies, these are the golden years. These are the years where we can live the best years of our life. And it's so sweet and so beautiful. So I invite you to come and do this with Dawn and I, because we are already there and we're doing it ourselves. And we want you to come and enjoy life with us to the extent that we're able to enjoy life, because we have our health and we have our vitality. So
Right.
thank you so much. And we will see you at the next Inner Circle, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Thank
Thanks,
you, Dr.
Dawn.
V. It's been
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks.
It's so good.